Welcome to Fruiting Body Podcast, Episode 6, with your host, Brendan O'Neill. Today, we'll be interviewing Cara Bishop. She's working in Kamala and on the island of Phuket, and she is an alternative teacher. And let's dive a little bit into that. Fruiting Body Mushrooms, we are a medicinal mushroom company run by a group of global entrepreneurs. Not only are we a medicinal mushroom company, but we're also telling the stories and getting a sneak preview through the lens of Phuket, and just trying to dive a little bit deeper into the people's stories of Phuket and how they've escaped that 9-to-5 rat race and kind of taken control of their own life and their own path. Now, for today's podcast. Today, we'll be discussing with Cara Bishop. She is working in Phuket, in Kamala, at Rising Star. She works for an alternative...
Shining Stars.
Shining Stars. We got a lot. It's a lot to remember here. Shining Stars, and it is like an alternative educational school, and let's just dive right into that right away. So first, thanks for joining us, Cara.
Thanks for having me.
And let's jump into what you're doing at Shining Star.
Shining Star.
Yes. I'm going to say Rising Star probably 10 times in this podcast.
I'll correct
you. Rising Star, and tell us a little bit about that and what that's all about.
So we actually opened 13 years ago, and it was essentially to answer the call that there wasn't really anything alternative to the traditional education systems here on the island for preschool, kindergarten, and primary. So actually, Christine Riley started the company, and she was actually the one who got me the job and was training me over the last 8 years of me working there at the school. She's recently gone back to the States, but all of our staff have been on there for a long, long time. And what we want to do is give these kids an opportunity to play and explore and really just be kids before we start hammering them with academic heavy things, which they'll get later on when they enter into primary. So our main focus is to get them out in the yard, getting them connected to themselves, having them be aware of their emotions, their feelings, how do they connect to others, interpersonal relationships, and how do they connect to the bigger picture around them? So how do they connect to their environment? Where are we in the world? We're in Phuket, yes, which is part of Thailand, which is part of Asia, et cetera, et cetera. So that's our goals for these kids. Of course, letting them get dirty, letting them play, letting them explore, ask authentic questions. That's all part of what we
building that immune system up.
Building the immune system up.
We won't use the C word now. But
exactly.
So what is alternative education, and also for these kids, what is the age group or age range at that school?
For our lower kids, we take ages 2 to about 4 years old, and then in the upper school, we go about 4.5 to 7. And that has fluctuated over the years. We've had students as old as 10. But it just really depends on who's coming into the island, what families are here. And right now it seems like we're getting a lot of younger students. So that's where we're at. We have between 2 and 7-year-olds at our school. And
the school, is it primarily Thai? Is it Farang? Is it mixed?
It is really, honestly, it's very mixed. We have a lot of different nationalities and a lot of different cultures coming in, but everything is taught in English. Of course, there's Thai lessons for the students that will be going on to Thai educational systems, but everything we do is in English. And, we've had kids speaking zero English when they start with us, and after a month, they're picking it up. So it's pretty incredible.
So they're starting from like say a preschool age, you're saying ages 2, and they're staying up till 7 and as late as 10.
Yes.
And from that, during that educational development, how is that different than, let's say, the standard government school, not just in Thailand, but also you could compare that, because, we're both Canadian, shout out. How could you compare that to the standard educational of ages 2 to 7?
I think the thing that makes us stand out the most is really small, intimate classroom sizes. So we have 3 teachers to about 9 students in the lower school, and 2 teachers to 6 to 7 students in the upper school. So what we aim to do is to teach these kids at their level. Where are they at? Not, okay, you're 6 years old, you should be at this level. Well, that might not be where they are developmentally right now. So we're trying to look at these kids, and the best way we can do that is having small classroom sizes. If there's 3 kids versus 30 kids, as a teacher, it becomes a lot easier to see what these kids need and where they're flourishing, where they need a little bit of growth. So I think that's probably the biggest difference. And the other thing is just letting them play, letting them explore, giving them a ton of different materials, giving them a ton of time to create things, to do experiments, to really just have a fully immersive experience of what we're trying to teach them as part of our
Is it a
curriculum.
different, like, let's say could you run us through a typical day of like, let's say a 4 or 5 year old, and what classes do they attend? Are there scheduled classes, like today is gym, today is math, or is it very open and there is, what is the program behind that?
Okay, so as much as we like to explore and play, there is definitely a reason we give them structure and routine. Kids thrive on that. So we do have a weekly schedule. They do yoga once a week. We do math and phonics about 4 times a week. We also give free play 2 times a week. So after we do our heavy lessons like math, phonics, they go outside and play. Then we bring them back in. We do language arts, or for the younger kids, it's obviously more creative play, imagination play. And then we all have lunch together, and then there's one more class at the end of the day. So there is a routine that we go through. We try to get them to target their physical body, so targeting gross motor skills, targeting fine motor skills. Obviously, language is coming through phonics class, but also through story. We read 2 to 3 stories to them every day, and we're trying to get them to interact with us. What does the cow say? For the younger ones, we're trying to get them to have a full body experience with these stories. With the older ones, we're asking them more questions. What was your favorite part? What do you think the character meant? The
comprehension side too.
Yes, absolutely. And that is supplemented with reading and writing skills, of course, for the older kids that are at that stage. But for the younger ones, we're really just getting them, vocabulary. We're trying to get them to be part of the group, which is another thing that we really value at our school is having the kids be accepted by the group, by their peers. And once they do that, that's the best learning tool that we can use, social behavior.
and how, like, let's say for like a math class, is there a teaching methodology that is different than, like, say, a government or standard school? Like, and I'll kind of elaborate on that question. I mean, typically, like, again, well, I lived in China for 5-6 years, and they were drilling. It was repetition. It was memorization. How do you guys differentiate your teaching methods for, let's say, math in particular?
Math in particular. So we have a curriculum that's broken down by age range. That being said, kids are going to be in different places in our curriculum. We're not going to expect every 6-year-old to be exactly where the 6-year-olds are at that age, right? They're coming in with different skills and different situations to our school. So we aim for these skills to be addressed during the year, during our 10 months that we're open. But there isn't any standardized tests. We're essentially trying to give them information and testing them with games and opportunities to practice, show us their knowledge. But we're really just giving them exposure to these skills that they'll need once they leave, because Shining Stars isn't the end of the road. They're going to go on to primary schools. So we're giving them the building blocks. More importantly, we're giving them the confidence to, hey, if you don't get this, you can ask me. You can ask for help. And that goes back into building these kids up within themselves. So if you're feeling unsure about something, what are some things that you can do to get your answers, to get your needs met?
So it's much more hands-on. There's more attention to each kid themselves.
Yes.
I mean, let's say a standard government school, you got 30, 40 kids in a class and one teacher. I mean, how can they
bless
they
them for anyone who can do that?
I mean, it's a bit overwhelming, I could imagine, as a teacher. But this being a stepping stone, how would you communicate that it's bridging the gap between, let's say, I'm not even sure the terminology, like their pre-education and then where are they going on to from there? What's the next step?
So we've actually, as I said, we've been open for 13 years now. Because we have this history, we've seen our students go on to every school on this island, whether that be more alternative learning like life school, or whether they go into the Thai system, they go into the government schools, or whether they go to BIS or QSI or one of the bigger schools, the more international schools. All of those kids have been successful. Of course, there's going to be that learning curve, that transition period when they change from our school to another school, and that's completely normal. Mm-hmm. But we have great relationships with our parents that we've had over the years, and we've heard nothing but positive feedback that their kids have been doing.
Do you have like a success story that really stands out that you'd like to share?
So many of them. I mean, I'm lucky enough to see the kids that I've taught, and they do come back. And I think that's one of my proudest moments is the kids that leave our school, if they have a break during their school period, they actually ask their parents to come back and hang out with us. We always have this rule, once a star, always a star. Mm. So we have this open door policy for kids who ever want to come back and hang out with us. And they want to do that. They love to do that. And I can see their growth. I can see where they're at now. And I can see those connecting dots of, okay, they learned this here. We were the foundation. And to watch them grow into these smart, intelligent, confident little human beings is for me, that's all the reassurance I need that we're doing something really magical and really interesting here.
Okay, and for Shining Star.
Crushed
it. All right. For Shining Star, where are most of the children commuting from? Are they mostly living in Kamala? Or are they coming from around the whole island?
Ooh, I would say about 60 to 70% are in and around Kamala. We have some families that come up from Laguna. We had a few coming in from Patong. In and around that area, we've never really had students coming from way down in Rawai or up north. Yeah. But a lot of the families, interestingly enough, will come do a tour of the school, and if they like us, they will find a accommodation around the school
nearby.
We have young kids too, right? So it makes sense for parents with young kids. They don't want to travel too far in the morning.
And you're saying how many teachers are total at the school, and how many children are total at the school?
So we actually had to say goodbye to one of our amazing teachers we've had for about 10 years. So she's going back home to Cambodia. So right now in the lower school, we have 3 teachers. In the upper school, we have 3 teachers. And with that, we have a cleaner, we have a cook who cooks, vegetarian meals for the kids every day. So we have a lot of staff for that very reason, so that we can give the kids what they need and be that support for them. We have 2 native English speaking teachers, myself and Darren. Yeah. And all my other teachers have been there for a really, really long time. We also have a university student graduate who's coming here for work experience. So she's been really lovely to work with too. A ton of staff for maybe, at the moment, we're at 17 kids.
17 kids.
Yes.
Okay, and I'll touch upon, you're talking about meditation. Now, this is, it's not typical, obviously, in the government schools, whether in U.S., Canada, or the rest of the world.
Right.
Have you guys been incorporating meditation into the curriculum since the beginning, and why is that? And also from that, what are the outcomes? What are the benefits? What have you seen from that type of program in itself?
So the way we started implementing meditation into our program is we actually had a woman from Australia, Nikki, come and certify the teachers in yoga for kids, teacher training. So we did that about 6 years ago. And so we really started it as initially to get the kids more body aware, more body conscious with the yoga. But this amazing thing was happening at the end of yoga was, of course, the relaxation or meditation as we know it. And these really magical things were happening where we were getting 2 and 3-year-olds able to sit still for 5 minutes. Yep. And any parents out there will know that that is no small feat. So it obviously takes time and it takes, weekly practice, and it takes patience and energy from our staff. But what I've found with the younger ones, of course, it's amazing to see that they're able to calm themselves and self-soothe, especially outside of the classroom. If we're in the playground, they fall and hurt themselves. We go back to, okay, let's take some breaths together. Let's go back to that breathing and calm down and use those techniques that we've been using in meditation. With the older kids, what I can see in the classroom is they're a lot more calm. They're a lot more able to sit through things where normally at the beginning of the year before we get into the yoga practice, they get a little bit more agitated. They get a little bit more, they get some ants in their pants. But near the end of the year, once these kids have been conditioned and been exposed to that sort of, that break, that relaxation at the end of yoga class, I see it in different aspects inside the classroom and outside the classroom with them.
And is that strategically planned out? Like, are you doing this meditation once a day? Is it planned out? Okay, let's say math, that could be quite difficult for children at a young age to concentrate on. So let's do meditation before math. Is that planned out?
What we do is in our weekly routine, we do have yoga once a week for them.
Okay.
But that meditation or those breathing techniques, they can be pulled out in a number of different times throughout the day. Like I said, if they fall down, they get hurt. We go right into that. Okay, let's go. Let's focus on our breath. It can really be used situationally. So if they're just full of energy and they're just a little wild that day, we will get them all to sit down in the middle of a letters class, a phonics class, and okay, we all need to just take a minute. We'll sit in silence and we'll just breathe. So there is the formal meditation at the end of our yoga that happens once a week, but the idea of just being able to come back to ourselves, that can be used many, many times throughout our week, depending on where we're at.
And these kids that are, let's say, joining the school, I'm sure you get kids that join the school from the beginning, let's say age 2, 3, and they stay till 7, 10, whatever. What about a child that's joining at the age of 5 and introducing them into yoga? I mean, how do they respond to that? Are they reluctant? Are they easily able to dive directly into it? Do they adapt?
You know what? The way we package yoga for these kids is, respecting your body, having fun with your friends, and having a moment to express ourselves physically. So it isn't the traditional yoga that, adults would know. We do pair it a lot with animal sounds, animal movement, things that are in and around their world, stretch up tall like a tree, waterfall. So kids are really quick to get on board with that, even if they're coming in from whatever schooling. Maybe they're 5 and maybe they're coming in from Conjunct or another school system where they haven't been exposed to that. They're really quick to get on board. And as I said, the group is really important. Any kid that's coming in that's unsure or never been exposed to this before, they're going to look around and see every one of their peers into it and really grooving on it. So they're selling it for us. I don't really need to do much. They're really selling it to these kids that are coming in.
Okay. Well, is there any content like maybe we can pull up the Shining Star website, crushed it again. Is there anything we could show from the website that we're allowed to show that might, I'm assuming maybe you don't have videos of that, or even if we pull up the website, is there something that we could highlight from there that we could talk about a bit? Or
we're a little bit more active on our Facebook page in terms of videos and content that we put out.
So should we pull something up? Is that okay?
Shining Stars Kamala,
Shining Stars Kamala. Okay, so we'll give.
Yeah, sure, absolutely.
I think you'll pull it up on the screen, or
yes, I'm pulling it
okay,
up.
so he's quick. Okay. See what we got there. Let's see if it works. We had some technical difficulties last time. So there's a lot of shining stars. Probably got to type in Kamala.
Yeah, just after,
Shining Stars Kamala. Okay.
There we go.
Let's check out
There we go. That's
there
us.
There we go. And we'll scroll through it, and if anything that sticks out that you would want to discuss, we can pop that video up and talk about it a little bit. Maybe just scroll down slowly.
So that was our upper school kids. They were baking a cake for one of the teachers that was leaving Piana.
Okay.
So we try to get them baking, cooking, making food once a week, at least. It's also nice. All of these kids right now are coming off almost 2 months of an unexpected break. Our April break was really meant to be 2 weeks, and as you know, there's been restrictions with the school openings. So all of these kids are coming in basically like from summer break.
Yeah.
So we're trying to highlight the the best parts of school. So getting them out in the yard.
And this yard here, this is the school itself?
This is, yes. So we've actually
okay.
moved locations last year. We were about 500 meters down the road on Soy Fantasy in Kamala.
Yep.
Unfortunately, they did construction next door to us. We had to move to another location. And although the yard is a little bit smaller, the indoor classroom space is immaculate. I'm really, really pleased with the teaching space that we have inside the school now. There's also a lot less mosquitoes. There's more coverage for the kids when it's raining. It's just a much better space.
Is there anything on yoga? That'd be cool to see. Interesting if...
Oh, that was the outside.
Depends if it pops up. There's some artwork. Who did all the artwork?
That's me. I've done
effort.
a couple of murals around the island here in Phuket, and obviously we had to
That's cool.
put something on for our school, our beloved school there. So that was all done by we were cleaning and painting and organizing for the last 3 days before we opened. So it was a labor of love there, but it was hard. It was hard having 2 months off when all of our kids were expecting to see us in 2 weeks. And we went through the same thing last year during lockdown.
So the school was closed completely.
The school was closed, and I know a number of other institutions on the island were trying to do online learning. But what we found last year was just with 2-year-olds, even with 7-year-olds, it becomes really challenging to have them sit in front of a computer screen. And the magic of what we do, as you can see, it's when the kids are together. It's when they're with their teachers. This was a Songkran celebration.
Oh, okay.
So we did a little water play Songkran that we do every year. But the most exciting thing happens in the school. So having online learning it wasn't feasible for us. Wasn't feasible for our families, and we got a lot of feedback.
Yeah, how do you put a 3-year-old or whatever, a 5-year-old in front of a computer and ask them to sit there?
Even 10-year-olds.
Yeah,
I'm
it's
like,
impossible.
wow, you guys, that's incredible. I mean, kudos to the parents and the teachers that can do that. But
there's Darren. Is that Darren?
Oh yeah,
Oh, okay.
yeah, oh yeah. We do the tie-dye shirts every year, so the kids. We don't have school uniforms.
Okay.
We like to keep it informal, but we do tie-dye T-shirts. And going back to what kind of nationalities, we do have a lot of half Thai kids, half Thai, mixed, but a lot of Thai kids, and a lot of families from lots of different places, Russia, Dubai.
And that's good at this age. They're kind of connecting with different cultures and starting to understand,
That's the yoga class, I believe.
That is the yoga class, yes.
Ah, okay.
So as you can see, it's a lot of props. It's a lot of games, but while still working on flexibility, body coordination, balance, all of those important things that really ground them in their body. And I think it's something that really needs to be put into the curriculum in all schooling, not just in Thailand, but beyond. I think you can see the benefits for their focus, for their body awareness. But I don't. Other than gym class, which I'm sure you remember from growing up in Canada, we never really had a time to work on flexibility or coordination or.
Yeah, this doesn't really exist in Canada, no?
From what I know, the only country that's been really progressive in having yoga as part of the curriculum is Australia, and that was the founder of Yoga for Kids, Nikki, who came over, and she was doing it in Australia, and we were like a guinea pig, a test run to see if, hey, can we do this with 2-year-olds? Because she was doing it with her youngest 7 and 8-year-olds.
And the owner of this school, are they Thai? Are they Farang?
So the owners now, Thai, yes. So PA is the owner of the school, and our partner Marcus. So he's from Germany, but he's been living in Asia for a really long time. Okay. But PA has started, as a teacher in the school and worked her way up, and now she's the owner, and rightfully so, because she knows the ins and outs of that place like the back of her hand. So she's an amazing person to work with, and I'm really lucky to be part of this team and to be accepted into this family, because that's what it is at the end of the day. You're working so closely with these students, with these kids, with your staff. It is like family, and being away from family, living on the other side of the world, it does become challenging at times. Especially during this last year with the lockdowns and restrictions.
So when's the last time you've been home then?
So I was home 2 years ago, and I was really trying to get home this summer, and you know, as it goes, it didn't work out. Didn't work out this time, but I'm hoping to get my parents out here again here soon. So.
Will you plan to? What's holding you back from going back? Is it just the dealing with quarantine at the moment and all that stuff, or?
Yeah, it's just a lot of work, and also I need to be at the school. I can't take the time off right now since we just opened. So, the timing just it isn't right, and getting back into Thailand, I think, is my concern.
And how long have you been in Thailand? Have you been in Phuket the whole time?
Yes, actually, I landed in Phuket, and it was by chance. Originally, when I was in Canada, I was coming here to teach English, and it was only supposed to be for maybe 4 or 5 months.
As everyone does.
Yeah, everyone does. It was
and then everyone stays for the rest of their life.
Yeah, and it was actually, the course was supposed to be in Samui. And 2 weeks before, they sent us an email saying, hey, unfortunately, that location is closed down. So you have to take it in Phuket.
TEFL course?
It was a TEFL course, yes. It was a TEFL course. And so I'd never heard of Phuket. I had done all my research on Koh Samui. I don't know, it's an island. It looks okay. I mean, we don't really have a choice. So we did it. And I came down here with 2 of my girlfriends from back home. And we landed in Phuket, and we thought it was amazing. We did the TEFL course, and, you know, ended up staying a little bit longer and a little slow to get a job right off the bat. As you know, Phuket's a fun place to be. Yeah, you meet people. There's so many cool, interesting experiences. And yeah,
I'm sorry, what year was that, Cara?
Oh, that was 2013. Yeah, that was 2013.
Oh, that's
so 2021, and
yes.
God. And then did you jump right into this position, or were you in another school before this?
No. So what happened is, after we got the TEFL course, and it was time to get serious and start looking for work, everyone had told us, look, you're not going to get a job in Phuket if you don't have teaching experience. It's not going to happen for you. And we had heard it numerous times through many different people, and we were like, okay, we really like Phuket, but it just sounded like it wasn't going to pan out for us here. Yeah. So we ended up going through an agency, and they found all 3 of us, my girlfriends and I, a job in Chonburi.
All Canadians.
All Canadian, okay. Yes. They're from Ontario. I'm from Calgary, so they're from the East Coast.
Gotcha.
So they got us a job in Chonburi, which was it's like about an hour outside of Bangkok, if I'm
it's quite correct. Quiet out there. Yeah, it seemed it was near the ocean. We thought, okay, it could be like Phuket. So we jumped on a plane. We went, and oh my gosh, it was nothing like Phuket. It was like a big dirty city, and the ocean. It was more like a port city, should I say? Yeah. And the school, they told us we were going to be working with younger kids, junior high. When we got there, and there were high school kids, they didn't have a curriculum. We had to write the curriculum, and it was just, the anxiety levels were just mounting. And and before this, you had no teaching experience, so it's you're jumping into it. You have kind of limited understanding from the TEFL of how to build a curriculum.
Absolutely. Building a curriculum. They told us, don't worry, we have it for you. And, it's just one of those things that you get there and, oh, actually, sorry, no, we don't. So we were trying to be really cool and roll with the punches, and no, let's give it a chance. It's okay. So we got there on the first day, and we just looked around, and we were like, this is, we can't do this. This isn't for us. We tried to politely decline the offer. And there was a little bit of misunderstanding, but essentially at the end of it, they said, look, we have your passport information. You are tied to us by contract, and you can't leave. And so the fear was rising in us. So I'm going to be honest with you. We actually ended up ducking out of Chonburi very quickly. And it was like a mad dash, throwing the suitcase in, getting in a tuk-tuk. I lost my wallet. A tuk-tuk driver came back, found it for me in the middle of the road. Getting to the airport, we were just a complete wreck, thinking that we were going to get, stopped by immigration. I don't know. Something was going to happen to us.
Nothing was going to happen.
Nothing was going to happen. No. But in our heads, oh my gosh, they have our passport information. Yeah. And we got on the first plane back to Phuket. And I remember this feeling of landing in Phuket, and we were just touching down and seeing the lights of Phuket and seeing some sort of familiarity. And it was the best feeling in the world. And it's funny because anytime I fly back into Phuket, I have that same feeling.
Yeah.
So it's always like our savior. We're like, oh my gosh, we're home.
Especially when
we're
you're
back.
flying over like Phang Nga Bay.
And you start recognizing, okay, that's that. Oh, so that sold it for me. I was like, okay, Phuket, that's it. Phuket is for me. But I did give it a fair chance to try.
How long did you stay? How long did you stay in Chonburi for? Like a month?
Oh no, it was about a total of 3 days.
Oh, that's quick.
Oh yeah,
You're like, get us the hell out of here.
That is quick.
it was
Very
quick.
yeah.
We tried, but yeah. And then once we were back here, it was like, okay, we have to be really serious about trying to find jobs. And I was actually going to hand out resumes to another school. I believe it was a Swedish school in Kamala.
Yeah.
And I had my resume printed out, and I was driving around, and I drove by the school, and you couldn't actually find us on Google Maps initially. You know, kind of looking at, okay, there's a bunch of kids. There's, you know, this looks funky, cool. There's a garden. It's, and that's when I met Christine, and she told me, no, look, we don't have any vacancies right now. Our teaching positions are filled. But oh, hey, you're an artist. So my background's in art. I have an art degree, and so does she. So that was the connection. And then about a week later, she called me saying, hey, look, our teacher for the lower school, for the kindergarten, she has to go back to America. She has a funeral to attend to. Would you like to come on? And we can start training. So it was, oh, yes.
And
everything was.
This is all quite quick. Like you've left Chonburi, you've landed in Phuket, you found this job, and this is at Shining Star at this point.
This was at Shining Stars.
And what about your other two friends? Did they join as well, or did they go elsewhere?
So one of my friends, Bonnie, she actually got a job as an au pair, as a nanny, working for this family, and she was actually really close with them and stayed for about 3 to 4 years here with that family. And she really, really liked that. And Allison, my other friend, she got a job at a government school. So she had the, you know, traditional teaching experience that most people have here with you know, not a lot of experience. They get their TEFL and they go into a government school. So it was interesting seeing kind of both worlds, because I was having my experience, which was non-traditional, and she was having her experience. Yeah. So it was interesting comparing notes and seeing, and she really loved it. She loved teaching, and she stayed on for 2 years. But I was really grateful to end up where I ended up at Shining Stars. I'll just say that. It was very much more at my alley.
So let's, again, this is not a plug for Shining Star. We're just diving into this information. I mean, they're not paying us here, but let's backtrack a little bit. Maybe let's go back to your university. So you're studying art at university, and let's bridge the gap of that story between completing university. Did you jump into a job in Canada, and how did you make the decision to come to Thailand?
So I had been going to school, and I'd been taking, you know, 5 course loads and really trying to get it done in 4 years. I wanted that 4 years. I didn't want 5 years.
In arts.
Yeah, BFA. Yes. Yep. And I had
fine arts. Yeah.
Yes,
there we
Bachelor
go.
of Fine Arts. Yeah. And I had been working as a waitress at the time, trying to make money while I'm going to school. And
is this in Calgary?
This is in Calgary. Yeah. So I was born and raised there, and I never left. So that was
gotcha.
It was I was really burning myself out. As you can imagine, it was 5 course loads, and then it was working every day after school. And after I graduated, I was waiting for that, okay, and now here's my career. Here's my amazing artist career. And okay, no one was waiting, you know, to hand me this golden opportunity. And you know, for what I wanted to do, it didn't feel like there was a lot of opportunity. We're an oil heavy city. And so there was jobs in corporate art, but it wasn't necessarily what I wanted to dive into. So I kind of just stayed in serving, and it was just that monotonous routine of burning myself out yet again and doing something that I wasn't passionate about. Yep. And just feeling like there's got to be something more than this. There has to be something. And that's really what sparked it. There was something inside me that, you know, it just builds. And it's like, I got to do something. I got to travel. I got to get out, and then I'll come back and have my big girl job, have my real job. Yeah. So Thailand really came up because, I mean, who doesn't want to go to Thailand? It's so attractive. There's elephants.
And were you here? Have you ever visited here before? Or
never been. I've known friends that have come here, and obviously they have rave reviews. But yeah, I don't know. Thailand was just very attractive to me. It was beaches, it was sand, it was everything I wanted. It was
what was
jungle.
This aha moment? You're a waitress. You're serving at this point in time. You're trying to find that golden opportunity, and when and everyone has this story, in my opinion, that comes over here. What was that aha moment when you're like, you know what? Teaching TEFL, let me learn about this. Let me make that move. Can you recall that day, that memory? How did that all click?
Honestly, I have to credit it to my mom. She was the driving force. She was the one that kind of forced me to pull the trigger. And she was just, you have your whole life to settle down and to get a job and to start back here in Calgary. But take this opportunity. Do it now. You just worked your butt off for 4 years, burning the candle at both ends. Go see things, meet people, go explore. So with her support, it really helped. And the aha moment came when I booked my flights. It was that moment that I clicked it and it was confirmed. And I knew it was something was going to come of this and something big. So it started there, but you could feel it building up until we actually got on the flights and we landed here. But the one thing about Phuket that I find the most unique, I've traveled to a couple different places in the world, but something that keeps bringing me back to Phuket is if you really want to do something, or if you're really passionate about something, or if you're feeling like you're motivated or inspired by something here, there's something about Phuket that makes that happen a lot faster than anywhere else in the world. And I don't know what it is. It
pushes you to do it.
Pushes you to do it, but not only that, but it gives you the perfect circumstances to meet people that would allow those opportunities to come up. You will meet the right people. You will be at the right place at the right time to overhear a conversation of something. There's just something really magical about this island, and I don't think it's happening by chance.
Well, it could, have to do with the ocean, and a lot of people are attracted to come to Phuket because of the scenery, and it's an easy lifestyle as well. So there's a certain type of person that is attracted to come here. And also those people that have taken the leap. It's not that easy. Did you have any doubts before making that decision to get on that plane of what am I doing? Should I do this? And could you run us a little bit through that?
Absolutely. Oh my gosh. I've never lived away from my parents. So I was living at my parents' house all through university. Mm-hmm. So this was the first time I was leaving them. This was the first time I'd be living on my own, and it was my first time in Asia. So there was just a lot of newness, and there's those moments where you're sitting up late at night and you're like, what am I doing? What am I doing? This is crazy. Yeah. And then you have a lot of people back home that maybe haven't traveled or a little bit more cautious, and they're asking you like, are you sure about this? Do you really want to do this? Have you thought it through? So there's those doubts that come in from your head and also from outside influences as well. So I think there was a lot of times where it was like, this could be the worst decision of my life, but luckily it wasn't. It was the best decision of my life.
Do you still have we won't name names, but do you still have those friends or those voices from people back home that still question it?
I think after 8 years of being here, even if they are questioning it, it really doesn't matter anymore. Their opinions are very low on the spectrum of really valuing what they think anymore. There was about the first 2-3 years when I moved here and I was going back in the summer to visit friends and family, and oh wow, that's amazing, that's incredible. It looks so incredible over there. But when are you coming home? When are you going to come back and start your life?
Why do you think they ask that question?
It might come from a place of fear of, oh, I could never do that. So they couldn't possibly imagine someone else doing it, and let alone someone in their family or that they're close with in terms of being friends with them. So it might just come from a place of fear and unknown, which is totally normal. But over the years, I realized I was really trying to sell everyone on what I was doing here. And I was trying to make it really important, trying to really have them understand why I was doing this. And after a while, you just stop trying to convince people. It's not.
Do you do that? Do you convince people anymore? Or do you kind of, it's more action and showing your lifestyle and living by it? And do you kind of, those voices or that background noise, have you completely eliminated that? Because I mean, I can say that from experience too. I've lived in Asia 10 years, and I completely agree. The first 2, 3, 4 years, you question, don't I need to go home and work in a corporate job?
Sure.
Should I be doing that? And then honestly, after the 5th year, you're like, hell no. No.
Yeah, I think it is. I think it's after 4 years. I think 4 years is up and there's some sort of timer that goes off in you where you're just like, no, this is it.
Which, like, for me personally, it's you start to realize that this becomes home and that is not.
Absolutely. Calgary will always be home for me because of friends and family. But yes, that concept, that idea of home, it doesn't necessarily have to be where you were born or where you're raised, or what country your passport says you're from. It does definitely become more of a feeling.
Yeah.
And it's hard to put that into words, and it's hard to convey that to people that don't understand that. So yeah, that just stopped becoming important to convince them that this was really somewhere that I felt confident and I felt safe and I felt like I was doing something unique.
And Phuket it's quite comforting. It's an easy lifestyle.
Yeah.
There's no matter, everybody, you go through these negative mind loops of why am I here? What am I doing here? Should I get back? And then the second you look at the beach, you're like, no, this is the right decision. So we have a question from one of our viewers.
So the question is, Cara, what are your plans for the future?
Ooh, that's a heavy question, isn't it? I want to keep doing what I'm doing. I'd like to stay in Phuket. I'd like to stay in Phuket for a while. It's really hard to plan anything more than a year down the line.
How long have you been here?
It's been 8 years.
8 years.
Yeah, and there's been a number of times where I thought, okay, I've had enough, and it's time to try something new. But keep coming back. I'd like to explore, my art. I would like to get involved in NFT. I know that's a hot topic.
Gotcha.
Recently. Yeah, I'd like to explore the digital art world and see what can happen from that.
Amazing.
But yeah, just honestly, I don't know. I just like to be happy. I just like to be stress-free, happy, living near the ocean.
What are your thoughts on, I'm assuming you've done some research into non-fungible tokens, NFT. What type of research have you done into that? What have you found? Why do you want to get into that?
As an artist, I think it is a really brilliant opportunity for artists to have a say in what's trending in the art world. Whereas, historically, it's been the curators, it's been gallery owners that have a lot of money that can say what is trending. Yeah. This takes that power into the artist's hands. And it also, this technology is really interesting for me. You can actually make money if you sell your NFT and you sell it for a certain price. You can actually make a percentage every time it's resold in the secondary market. So that's pretty unique for art. Typically, you don't keep getting a kickback every time it's sold afterwards.
How does NFT, I have an idea how they work. I think NFTs, the concept is probably similar to how cryptocurrency was. People understood it, but they didn't know, how do I buy? What is it? Where do I get it? And if you don't know how to explain that, do you understand the process? Like if you had an NFT, where do people go? What is the platform? How does that work?
There's a couple. There's OpenSea, which is nice for emerging artists that don't really have a large following. But there's some other ones like Rarible, where you actually have to get invited in. So that's obviously the end goal. Once you get a nice body of work and people start recognizing you, you can actually apply or get invited into these. Essentially, they're like online galleries, really, and they are curated. But for emerging artists, there's free ones like OpenSea.
Yeah.
So people scroll through. How it was explained to me is there is a ton of people right now that are investors and they want to get into NFTs, and there's this many artists involved. And reason being is artists typically aren't tech savvy. Majority, myself included, we're not tech savvy. So we haven't really, we don't really know much about that world. So there's all of these people. There's a ton of people that are investors that want to buy NFTs, and this many people making them.
Yeah.
So right now is a great time to get in.
So you would create your digital art and you would put it on this platform like OpenSea. Yeah. Are people? Is it like an auction, or they can just they can buy it immediately? Like, for example, you only have one quantity in the inventory, or 10 or 20. How does that work?
So I think you can create collections and you can set your price, but you can also have auctions. So, you know, for the highest bidder, it really depends. And I'm sure there's tips and strategies for new artists specifically. But the other thing too, is you really have to see what's trending right now. And artists are great at that. They have an eye for what's fashionable, what's working, what people are attracted to. So which these investors don't necessarily have those skills. They have money. They want to buy things.
Yeah.
They want to invest in things that they think will be trending. So, it's a pretty cool way for artists to have a say in the art world, and also to get paid.
And, I don't know if this is maybe it's more of a personal opinion question. When you talk about that, as artists, we know what's trending. Is that kind of an oxymoron in the sense that, well, who cares what's trending? I'm the artist. I want to be free and to design my own art. Or does the trend direct your art?
That is completely subjective for sure. I think it depends on each artist. Like, what is your end goal? Do you want to sell a lot and make a lot of Ethereum?
Yeah.
If so, then you're going to look at what's trending and start making art to feed that need. If you're just in it to throw your art into the world, and hey, if people are into it, great. Then there's space for that too. But the interesting thing is these online spaces have room for all sorts of artists. Yes, and everyone in between.
What strategy would you take on? Would you take on, okay, what's trending? Let me design art based around trend, or would you design art based around personal opinion and passion?
I would have to do personal opinion and passion. I've done a couple commission pieces before, and I'm not gonna lie, it's actually a lot harder.
What does that mean? Commission pieces?
Paintings. Okay. I've done for people, and it's actually a little difficult to stay committed to those pieces when they're not your ideas, when you're doing it for maybe someone else. So if I was honest, I would say I would make art that's for me, and if people like it, great. The idea is it's good enough that people will see the value in it. But hey, the goal isn't to be, an Ethereum millionaire.
Yeah. As an artist, I mean, I could be wrong, but it's not the money and the trend that would drive the artist. It's staying true to yourself and the passion, and that's how you're going to be inspired and create your own art. Would you say if money came into play or trends came into play, is that going to drive your art in the wrong direction? And maybe that's a bit of a rhetorical question.
Potentially. You'd have to feel it out for yourself. If you're creating art and you've completely lost interest, or you're just begrudgingly doing it, or just turning it out and there isn't really any substance to it, then I think you have to look within yourself and be like, have I lost that spark? Have I lost that thing that makes my art unique and important to me? If it's important to you, great. If it's important to others, but if it's not important to you and you're just selling it to sell it, I don't know. Is that really art then?
and what is your style of art? And for me, honestly, this is one school of thought in my life I've never dove into. And I would say in the arts, like I am horrific. I couldn't, if you ask me to draw something, I'm absolutely horrible. So maybe you could talk about that a bit. Like, what is your art style and what does that mean to you?
As I've kind of grown and developed over the years, it tends to be more graphic novel-esque, black and white, really saturated colors, usually with the female form, because, women are beautiful, and
this is fine art. So you're doing it with
so acrylic paint, typically, watercolors, pen and ink. So switching to digital is really interesting too, because you're getting used to a completely different medium. So I'm really curious on how these artists are switching from maybe like a two-dimensional art to digital art. That's also another completely big learning curve that I'll have to.
Do they take, like, if you're, let's call it, I don't know, maybe the terminology would be hard art and soft art. Hard art being you've made it by hand, soft art meaning it's digital. Are people creating hard art but selling it digitally? So then, like, and I'll explain that a little bit more, meaning like you create this fine art with your acrylic and your style and whatnot. You sell it digitally as an NFT, but as someone buys it digitally, you would also ship them the original. Is that something? And again, I don't know from experience, so I'm just kind of processing it live now.
I think it likely could be done, but how I understand it is if it is an NFT, it just exists digitally. So the physical artwork you could keep for yourself, right? That could be a physical piece of art, but the digital rendering that you create, that is what's sold and then resold on the secondary market. And I mean, I'm sure that can be done, but with these specific spaces, I believe it's just the digital.
Just the digital now. Yeah. Is there an art community in Phuket that you can connect with?
I'm going to say yes, but I'm honestly, I'm a little bit lazy. I know I should be going out. I should be going to galleries, and I know a lot of people that do that. Yes, I like street art. So public spaces are where you can see street art. It isn't necessarily happening inside of galleries, although there is some amazing galleries like in Bangkok, like the Mocha and Arum Gallery, which are doing really cool, interesting things.
Have you been to them?
Not in Phuket.
Have you been to any galleries in Thailand?
Yes. So in Bangkok, I've been to those two. But in Phuket, no, to be honest. No. There isn't a huge, and I could be wrong.
There's not a big art scene here.
There isn't a huge art scene here.
Are you familiar with Goldie?
Yeah.
He's in Kamala. I've seen a couple of his on his Instagram. It seems like he has his own studio for art in Kamala.
Actually, yes, I know his wife as well, Mika. I've taught his daughter, Coco, actually, at Shining Stars.
There you go.
There's the connection.
Okay.
Yeah, he has some stuff in the Arum Gallery. And
where is this gallery?
This
it's
is
in
in
Phuket?
Bangkok.
Oh, it's in Bangkok. Okay.
Yeah, and I believe he still has a number of pieces there now currently. But yes, I'm familiar with him, and he has some pieces around Kamala too. He's done some graffiti pieces.
Street art.
Yeah.
Street art. Have you been to I think it's Penang in Malaysia. It's the island that most people would do a visa run for. Have you ever been there?
I have. They
did
have
you see
wicked art?
The street art. You can go on like these street art tours. Well, you kind of just have to Google map it and you go around. It's amazing.
You can do it self-directed for sure. But they have a really cool street art scene in Penang. I actually miss doing visa runs. I know that sounds silly, but the things that you miss when you're not required to do them anymore. But they had in Kuala Lumpur too, they have a couple of funky areas that you can walk around and see some interesting stuff.
Is there a lot of street art in Phuket? I've seen, like for example, some people are doing designs at Hugo Hub and like over at Sutai Muay Thai. They've done some murals there as well. Is there any or do you have to kind of keep it on the hush underground? You don't want everyone showing up.
Any murals that I've done, I've gotten the permission.
Yeah.
So I've never had to do any sort of guerrilla style, show up at night. And, but from what I've heard, I think it's fairly easy to do. Just don't get caught, essentially. Okay. Right. Yeah. But there's a number of places here where you can see that street artists have come in. And
do they have anything like that available? Like maybe not just Google, or it could be an Instagram account of let's call it the street art of Phuket, where you can locate all this street art and maybe, if you were to drive it around the island and go see it for yourself, kind of Phuket and the street becomes its own gallery.
That's That's a great idea, Brendan. You should do
Well,
that.
patent pending.
Stay tuned for
No, we've taken on too many projects. I'll give that one's yours.
Okay, I'll take that one on.
Awesome.
Not that I'm aware of, though. But that's a really great idea. That's a great idea. And the cool thing about Phuket is, street art. You think more industrial cityscapes where this art is existing. With Phuket, we're so lucky because we have this lush vegetation that also gets incorporated into the art pieces too. So that's pretty unique.
Phuket
for
is
us.
its own canvas.
It is, isn't it? Oh gosh.
Yeah. Awesome. So we kind of went off on this art tangent, which is it's great for me. It's interesting to learn about because again, this is something that I would never go on Google. I wouldn't pick up a book just because I'm wearing too many hats that I cannot wear anymore. But it's something that I've kind of written down that at some point in my life I will indulge in that. Just not right now. Maybe in 5-10 years. Maybe when I'm a bit older and I'm less adventurous. Which I don't even know what that means at this point.
Down,
yeah. But let's jump back a little bit because I think one part I wanted to discuss because I went through this as well. So it's your journey. You've left this job as a waitress in Calgary. You've made the leap to do your TEFL in Koh Samui. You didn't find any jobs there. It didn't work out. You've come to Phuket and you found at Shining Star. I almost slipped. Got it. Shining Star. And is there much more to that experience? Is there anything that you would have done differently from the beginning? That you would, and this, I think this could go out because I believe this content will be interesting for people that want to come to Southeast Asia or actually go, I don't want to just say teach English, but also live abroad. So the question is more or less like, is there any advice you would give? Is there anything that you would have done differently from the beginning for that, to give that information on that leap from leaving your home country to the unknown?
I don't think I would have done anything different, to be honest, because I wouldn't be where I am here today. But I think I would have let people's opinions. I would have valued them a little less. I think it would have made that transition a whole lot easier because I think we're always vying for validation. Like I'm on the right path. I'm doing the right thing. Maybe from our parents or from our friends or our peers. And once you take that leap and you really find your footing in a place where you find your purpose, all of that stuff that you used to think was important becomes a lot less important. So I would say just, do it. Buy the ticket. The worst thing that can happen is you come back. That's the worst thing that can happen is you go there and, hey, it doesn't work out. You can always go back, but do it. Just buy the ticket.
Just take that leap.
Take the leap for sure. And hey, you don't know where you're going to end up. And
do you think the TEFL is necessary?
Ooh, good question.
Or is it?
Can I put an insight here?
What's up?
I don't think it's necessary because I work as a teacher before and I don't have the TEFL.
No.
I think they might be making it a little more strict now.
Now, yeah.
But I agree. I think before it was.
It's an organization that you're paying for some certification. But anyways, I have my opinion on that. Let's hear yours.
Was my TEFL experience necessary for what I do now? No. Did it look nice on a resume? Yeah, for sure. It helps, but. If someone likes you and they think that you're going to be an asset to their school or their business, no, I don't think so.
It doesn't matter at that level.
There wasn't really any amazing skills that I learned in the TEFL course in the 3-4 weeks that I could say, yes, I couldn't have taught without this piece of information. So it was more just experience, right? It's just getting in and showing up on your first day where you're teaching and you have no idea what you're doing. You have no idea how it's going to play out. And then just showing up the next day and the next day. And that's the more valuable.
Yeah, I think the TEFL, in my opinion, it's kind of it's a blanket. It's a comfort document for anyone looking to make the leap that's a bit hesitant.
Sure.
And it gives them a little bit more, reassurance, like I can do this. But the reality is, I taught English in Taiwan for a year, and I didn't do the TEFL. I got hired from Canada. But, this document, it gives you that reassurance so that if you jump into that job, you kind of feel comfortable. But I can imagine, and I can't give that opinion because I didn't do it, but I could imagine that the TEFL and jumping in the position, but once you get that jump into the real world experience, that TEFL is basically, it didn't teach you anything.
Absolutely. But you don't know that until you get the experience. So it's looking back, it's like hindsight's always 20/20. But I agree with what you said about feeling like that safe step. Okay, so first I'm gonna arrive in Phuket, and then I'm gonna take my course, and then I'm going to, and maybe that's what people need, but is it necessary? No, it depends on you personally. If you can just show up at a school and be like, hey, I'm here to teach. Yeah. Great.
I think it depends on the person if they're comfortable making that leap. But I mean, nothing against TEFL. Hopefully we don't get shadow banned on YouTube for this. But if you are hesitant making that leap and that TEFL you feel would make you feel comfortable, go do it. But if you're like confident that you could just jump in and find a job without it, do that.
Absolutely do it. The other thing too is you could always come here and then try to find a TEFL course. But hey, in the meantime, maybe you get a job already. So it is it's like a nice buffer, right? Yeah. Do I really want to teach? This is kind of dipping your toe in. This is what it might be like. Is it really like that? Probably not. Yeah. But this is what it might be like. This is what you could expect. And then, hey, maybe you realize, I don't really want to teach. I want to do something else. I want to be a dive instructor or whatever. But I think the important thing is that you just get here.
And I think, in my personal opinion, I think most of the schools that are going to hire you online, like digital, like remotely from your country, are probably not the best schools. The better schools that are going to hire you are the ones that are here, and they are better because typically in Asia, you need to show up and meet the people to get hired.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And these better schools, in my opinion, they have the power. They don't need to go online because everyone's lining up at the door anyways.
Yeah.
So maybe, do you agree with that? Do you disagree with that?
I do agree with that. For sure. I putting an ad online and hiring someone from overseas, once you get there, well, what kind of school is that? You're just going to grab a teacher. And also for the students, right? Like your teacher was just grabbed online. Yeah. No offense against your students in Taiwan.
No, not at all. But it's like if you're a school in wherever, it could be anywhere in the world, and you're an English teacher school, and usually it's bridging the gap, I would say, between finishing university to, they say it's not a leap year, how they say in the UK or whatever that year off they take, to the corporate world. Okay, I'll go teach abroad. And usually people will do that. But I feel that, like, if you're finding these jobs online, well, it's a bit of a red flag. Maybe, I don't know, not all the time for sure. But otherwise, these schools could probably find people in the country that are there already.
For sure, especially in Phuket, there's so many, or there was, so many people traveling here that they had an abundance of teachers, of really good quality teachers to choose from. So I would agree with that. I would agree with, applying online and having these ads for
mine was in Taiwan, but I just when I left, my stories, it's kind of similar. I don't even know if I've told this on the podcast. I can't.
Not yet.
Like, my story is a bit similar. Like, I graduated university. Well, I studied in University of Toronto. Then I did a study abroad in Australia, came back home, did 2 years at Bell Mobility at like the corporate head office, and, bumper to bumper traffic every day for 2 years. And then just one day I'm like, wow, this is horrible. Like, who the hell wants to do this? You see the corporate ladder and you see the guy at the top, and these guys are working 60 hours a week and they're burnt out and they're not even getting paid that much. So basically what I did is, one day I was just driving to work and I quit. I said, this is mental. I'm like, why am I 45 minutes bumper to bumper traffic, getting paid pennies? This isn't for me. So I just quit, and I had some friends teaching English in South Korea. I'm like, you know what, I'll give it a shot. And he gave me a website. So I just went on that website, and it wasn't just South Korea. It was all of Asia, just some database. Like probably doesn't even exist now. And then I just applied to every single job and forwarded my resume. 2 days later, I got a call from Taiwan. They were the first to respond. It was a British guy running what's called like a bushy ban.
Bushy ban
in Taiwan. So it's basically like an after-school English education program, which is 100% a scam. These kids don't learn shit. I mean, these kids come once a week after school for an hour, and it's teaching English, but they don't. But they're older. Like the age can go from, I was teaching, I think like 8 to 15. So like they can learn. It's the same in Canada. It's like, okay, this week we're learning French for 1 hour. Do you speak French? Maybe.
Ugh.
I doubt it.
Un petit peu.
Yeah, no, but same as me. Like we learn French from age, I don't know, 8, 9 to like 15, 16, but I don't speak a lick of French. And that's because it's 1 hour a week, once a week, and then there's no immersion.
Yeah.
And that's the same with these bushy bands. So anyways, I went off a tangent there. But so this guy responded to me, and he was British. And he saw my resume was decent. I mean, I had my bachelor's for business administration, and I had some corporate experience. And he was basically like, yeah, just come over and I'll give you a job. I'm like, do I need TEFL? He's like, nope, I have all the program, all the material. Just come over, I'll teach you. You don't need that shit. I said, all right. So I applied. 2 days later, he contacted me. And a week later, I hopped on a plane. So all this went from quitting to on a plane in like seconds. I didn't even think twice. I'm just like, just do it. And I was 22, 23.
Yeah.
And even when I got there, the owners of the school were, they're like, I'm like, so these kids will learn? They're like, yes. But that's the business model. Yeah. The business model is they know that teachers are looking, they hope to get a full year out of them, maybe 2. And it's just high turnover. And you come in and there's some material and then you move on. So that was kind of my experience on that. And for me personally, I didn't like teaching because I had to stand up the whole time. And like
no sitting.
Oh yeah, I couldn't take, my feet were killing me. But anyways, yeah, I found I guess this point is more about the TEFL. The TEFL's not necessary. If you get the right school and the right manager to give you some direction, it's pretty simple.
Absolutely. It definitely depends on who's going to be training you and how they're going to integrate you in. That's way more important than the TEFL, in my opinion. So no, you don't need one.
Did you? I found for me personally, did you find that like my level of English got better by being an English teacher?
Oh my goodness. My mom always says this when I go home to Canada. She says that I pronounce my words more clear when I speak to her. And it's definitely from teaching, for sure. You have to slow it down and you just articulate everything a little bit.
And you start to understand the grammar in more, I don't want to say mathematical terms, but like in terminology, like superlatives. And I mean, if we look back at that, we speak English is our native tongue. So
yeah, isn't that the funny thing? You don't realize we're just doing it all the time. And then you really break it down like, oh, okay, that's why it's like that. And I'm constantly learning too. That's the great thing about being a teacher.
But then you find, for me, I find that now that you understand English from teaching it, when you start to even listen to, let's say, it could be a sports hero of yours or a newscaster or someone just in general on TV, even people who are native, they're not speaking proper English.
That's true.
They're not using the correct theirs and stuff like that.
You become a little bit more critical.
Yeah, a little bit more critical.
Yes. Definitely.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's funny when you work with younger kids, especially if they're coming in with no English. The rate at which you speak to your friends, as soon as you walk in that door, like you drop way down and everything is slowed down. And it's interesting how you just naturally start to switch that when you walk in. So.
And how about when you go home? I mean, here, I don't know if it's too strong, but like I don't think our Canadian accents are that strong. But when you go home, do you completely change?
Oh,
yeah.
I think if there's some alcoholic beverages involved, I think the Canadian comes out.
Yeah.
But I notice it more when I talk to my friends. I can really hear
When you call back home.
It's
crazy.
or their voice notes. It's like, oh wow, that
yeah.
is a thick accent there. And I don't know. I it's hard to tell with yourself, but I would imagine it would flatten out over time.
Could you guys play that out? Because I cannot tell.
No,
How is a Canadian accent? Can you talk?
I don't.
Oh yeah, there. Oh, that's great.
You can't really put it on. It's more like when you go back home and you jump in a conversation, it just comes out.
Definitely,
Like
especially if you get excited.
Yeah, you can't just say put it on. I don't know.
It's not easy
No.
I get made fun of by my boyfriend a lot. He's South African, and so there's words that are quite funny for
different
for him
vocabulary that we use that they don't. Chesterfield and
Chesterfield. That's a good one.
or sitting on a Chesterfield, things like that. Yeah.
Or a toque. No one idea what that is.
Toque. It's I guess it's a
what is it?
It's a
like a beanie,
like a hat?
like a
hat?
knit hat.
Wear in the winter. Yeah, we have some terminology. Or Canadian. Yeah. So Carrie was mentioning, talking about your future plans in Phuket. Let's avoid that a bit then for now. Let's jump into the lifestyle of Phuket. So anyone looking to come to Phuket, like, what is the day in the life of yourself? Like, how could you run us through, let's say, your Monday to Friday and your weekends? Like, what are you doing?
I think there's a little bit of everything for everyone here. That's the nice thing about Phuket. You can do the yogi retreat, go up into the mountains and live in a hut. You can do the party nightclub scene. You can do the beach sports thing. It's you can do the digital nomad thing. There's just little pockets around the island that serve something for everyone.
Yep.
And I like that diversity about Phuket. You travel a lot in Thailand, you go to different places. And for me, when I travel, there's always that question, could I live here? I always play that through my head. Could I live here? And there's places that I love in Thailand, Koh Phangan, Chiang Mai. But could I live there? I don't know. There's just something about Phuket that, if you want to wake up early and go to the beach for a swim, you can do that. If you want to go to a yoga class after, you can do that. If you want to go and get really nice quality vegetarian food, you can do that. If you want to go shopping at a shopping center, you can do that. If you break your laptop and you need a new one, you can. It's all accessible here.
It's really. I think it's a bit egotistical, I guess, but I feel Phuket is the center of the universe. But I mean, I've had this conversation with many people. I go, tell me another place in Southeast Asia. Tell me another place in Asia that's better than Phuket to live. I mean, I've lived in China, I've lived in Taiwan, and I've been to every country in Asia, except for Mongolia. But ask me where I would live, I would always say Phuket. I would travel to places, but nowhere in Southeast Asia has what Phuket has. International airport, that's 20 minutes away.
Yeah.
It flies anywhere you want direct, pretty much, besides like Bali. But there's usually a connection, Bangkok, Singapore, things like this, or Hong Kong. International schools that are like world class. I mean, we have world-class shopping centers, we have movie theaters, you have the beach, you have beach clubs, you have nightlife, you have golf, you have any type of sport if you wanted to pick it up. The roads are quite safe. The infrastructure is quite good. I mean, the water's fairly clean. The food, you could eat pretty much anything you want.
Absolutely.
In terms of, there's fine dining here. If you want to spend 20 baht on a meal or 50 baht on a meal, or if you want to spend 5,000, 10,000 baht on the meal, you have that option.
Yes.
I mean, if you went to, let's say, the Philippines, where would you're not going to live in Manila. And there's not like an island, like you're not going to live in Boracay. So
great to travel to.
Great to travel to, but I've had that discussion with people. There's really nowhere else in Southeast Asia that this even exists. And more importantly, it's super safe.
Especially as a female, you travel to different countries, and that is a huge factor. I've always felt incredibly safe here. And whether I'm at 7-Eleven at 3 a.m, whether I accidentally leave my bike key in my bike, I've never had an issue. I've never had a serious issue here, and I've always felt like the locals are incredibly kind, and they are. The amount of times I've broken down on the side of the road, or I've had scooter problems, within maybe 3 minutes, there is someone that is pulled over and helping me. And where do you get that? Anywhere in the world, even in Canada, and we're supposed to be one of the friendliest countries. Would that happen in Canada? I don't know.
Maybe in the summer.
If it's winter, no way.
I don't know.
So, I agree. Phuket it's a very special place, and it has all sorts of things. Whatever your poison is, you can find it here. For me personally, I like to get out in nature. I like the yoga thing. There's hiking trails all over this island. Especially now with the lack of tourists, the oceans are stunning. The marine life is coming back. It's amazing. You can look out and see dolphins swimming around. There's
saw
whales.
dolphins here.
In Kamala during last year. You could see. Yeah.
Wow.
It's amazing. Turtles are coming back.
Yeah.
It's those are the things that you have those moments and you're like, yeah, I'm in Thailand. I'm in Thailand, and sometimes you get used to it when you live here, that it becomes part of your routine, but there's moments that just snap you in. Like,
what's your favorite thing of Thailand? Like, what if something at the end of your travels and your journey, when you're 70 years old, sitting in a rocking chair with Kyle, what is the one thing, if you look back on not just Phuket but Thailand in general, and that stands out of why you love it here? It's a really hard question to answer.
That is a hard question, but one of the main things that stands out is the food. I love food. Thai people they have perfected it. They have these balance of flavors: sweet, spicy, sour, like everything. They're just doing it right here. And the other thing is, again, the people, the kindness and the compassion that you get from the locals here.
Yeah.
I'll never get sick of that. I will,
and especially when they realize you're not a tourist.
Yeah, there's that switch of like, oh,
it's
you're here.
Switch. It's a complete switch.
You live here. Yeah. You've committed, and especially through this last year, like we've all kind of gone through this uncertain time together.
Yeah.
And it's almost like it binds you closer with your neighbors.
And can you speak a little bit of Thai? Is that like even like a sentence, or like, you don't have to do it for the mic.
You putting me on the spot.
No. But I mean, like when you're pulled over or you're in a situation, that if you say a couple things in Thai, they know right away you're not a tourist.
Yeah.
Like, are you able to say something to them?
I know enough to get by.
Yeah. Same.
I can be polite. I can, enough to know that you've been here for.
It's like
you've been here for a little bit.
It's the unwritten rule where like I'm not. You don't need to know how to say I'm not a tourist, but you say a couple things like, "Oh, she's not a tourist."
Okay. Yes. Exactly.
And they kind of leave you alone, and they treat you a bit differently.
They do, and it's more of that playful kind of Thai banter that you get with them too. And my Thai is limited, so there's an extent in the conversation where it's just
for sure.
But it's just there is that kind of like, oh, you're not just here for 2 weeks and then leaving. Like it is nice. It's nice to. I think it's important to learn Thai when you're here. You don't have to be fluent, but just
it's
to learn
very difficult language.
my gosh.
I mean, I speak really well, not really well. I would say I'm like a 6 out of 10 in Chinese, and I'm like a 2 out of 10 in Thai. But like you would think I would be able to pick it up pretty quick. And
it's a tonal language similar to
Chinese is tonal as well, but it's not the tones in Thai. It's the pronunciation, like the pronunciation, let's say, of like ng, like pang na, and then like it's some of these words they're very difficult to pronounce.
Absolutely, and our mouths aren't used to forming them.
And a lot comes from here, and like I learned Thai. I did 3 months with a tutor, and actually my first visa here was an educational visa. And there's a kind of not a scam, but it's how do I say? No, it's not a scam at all. It's a prank, I want to call it. When you I shouldn't even tell this story because like I want everyone else to go through it. But like when you do your first education, have you ever done an education visa?
I haven't.
Okay. When you do your first educational visa, any education visa school that's going to give that to you, they don't tell you the reality of getting that visa. They basically say, no, you got to study Thai because there's a test at the end of the year. It's a joke. That's the prank. So what happens is at the end of the year, you actually technically are supposed to go to a government office and write a Thai test. Now, I had to go write this Thai test and I put it off for the whole year into the last 2 months. And I was so nervous, freaking out. I taught myself to write Thai for 2 months.
Wow. And
then I showed up, so I learned the consonants and the vowels, and there's 60 consonants and 30 vowels. It's insane. So I learned as best as I could. And then I'm like, I'm failing. I go into this office and to write the test. And I start actually answering questions and writing in Thai. If you ask me to write now, no way. This is 5 years ago. And I'm writing in Thai. And then the lady in the government office just comes up and goes, what the hell are you doing? I'm like, I got to write the test, no? And she's like, no, give me that. Then the Thai lady just takes it and answers all your questions and submits it. And then I go back to the lady. I'm like, I was studying Thai for 2 months, learning the language. She's like, haha, good for you. I'm like, oh my God. So I didn't want to tell that story because I feel everyone else should have that experience. Yes. But I forget what we were talking about exactly, but anyways, that was that tangent. But about the Thai language. Yeah, it's very difficult to learn. I've downloaded some things I find Pimsleur works for me because it's audiobooks. And it builds up on foundations of conversation. I think Rosetta Stone and Duolingo is a complete waste of time, to be honest. You're just going to learn 50 pieces of vocab and have no idea how to use any of them. How to put them together.
Well, and the Thai they speak in Bangkok is different than the Thai they speak here in Phuket. Different. So you go to, you're feeling confident speaking your island Thai, and you go to the city and people are looking at you like,
yeah, you sound like a Southerner.
I know how to ask for a spoon. Why won't anyone give me a spoon? You totally, you have that accent.
That Southern accent, it's very comparable, in China as well, but in Thailand, it'd be like someone from New York going to, let's say, Georgia. There's a distinct accent. We don't really, I find I don't really hear it too much. I hear it in China because my level's a bit higher, but wherever you are in any country, maybe even South Africa, or I'm sure for sure in Brazil a lot. If you're in the north or the south, there's definitely different accents. Yeah. And it's hard to understand each other as well.
In Brazil, we have a funny thing that you can tell where they're from just by their accent. Yeah. Like the exact state. Wow. Just by the way they say, you're from Rio, right? No, you're from São Paulo, right?
But for someone that doesn't speak Portuguese, and I hear Portuguese, it's all the same to me.
You can tell, yes.
Yeah, you cannot tell. Yeah. In South Africa.
Yeah, just by the way they look, you can tell they're from Joburg or Cape Town.
Like they're dressed, the way they're dressed.
Yeah, just the way they're dressed, you can tell that person's from Joburg, that person's from Eastern Cape, Cape Town.
By their clothing.
Their clothes, their style of hair.
How they carry themselves.
Their mannerisms.
You can go out and look, Joburg, Cape Town, just.
I guess that's the same in Canada too. You could tell someone from Calgary to Toronto pretty quick. As stereotype, right? Everyone has their stereotypes.
A tradie type versus someone who's from,
Exactly.
Yeah, for sure. Going back to your story about writing the Thai test.
Oh God, yeah.
I had my girlfriend Bonnie, the one that I came out here with, similar situation. She was on the education visa for about 2 years, and then some restrictions tightened up, and they were kind of cracking down on the education visa requirements. So they told her, look, you're going to have to write a test. But this was an actual test. She actually had to test. And so she was freaking out. She's like, I don't know what to do. But they gave her a list of what the questions would be, obviously all in Thai.
Which doesn't matter anyways.
It doesn't matter. Yeah, it was line squiggle, line squiggle. So her boss, her employer, wrote all the answers on her hand. So she went in, but she was sweating so much. She was so nervous. So all of the ink was all over her hand, but she wrote the test. She passed. Everything was fine. She got another year on the education visa.
But it seems they don't do it anymore though.
This was 5 years ago, 5-6 years ago now. So I think definitely things have changed.
Yeah, rules in Thailand, they change like clothes every day. You never know what's going on. So you just roll with the punches.
That's another thing about living here is you can't take yourself too seriously, and you can't, if you're a stickler for rules.
Game over.
I don't think you're gonna last too long. You gotta be pretty.
If you're German or Swiss, you might have some trouble over here. You just go. I mean, there are no rules. You drive and you keep going. What are your thoughts on the driving here? What's your strategy?
Oh man, I'm a slow driver.
Okay, so you're not aggressive.
I am not an aggressive driver. No, I'm a slow driver. I've never rode a scooter until I came here, and I actually learned on this main road here, right by Sarin Beach, going into Chantale, which apparently is one of the most dangerous roads on the island. And I remember the first day we learned on the side roads, and we were feeling really confident. Okay, it's time. We had met some friends who were also in our TEFL course, but they had experience driving scooters. Okay, it's time for you girls to go on the main road now. So we were like, okay, we're feeling good, we're feeling confident, and we're going, and everything's fine. And then we see the most horrific thing, and it was a scooter was driving the opposite direction, and there was a dog in their sidecar, and the dog jumped out, and it was I'm not going to go into details, but anyway, it was just not a lovely experience for your first time on a scooter on the main road. So yes, I mean there's I feel like everyone's due for a little crash on the bike, not a horrific crash, but there's like time that you're crashed? Due. I have, yeah, I have.
Shit.
I've got some.
What happened?
I got some Thai tattoos.
You got some Thai? Oh my.
Sorry, Mom. You remember when Sarin used to have Catch just over here? It was on Catch Beach.
I came in 2016. So as I arrived, the bulldozers were wet. So I came actually March 2016.
Okay.
And the bulldozers came out, I think, April 2000. I remember I was supposed to go like, one weekend, I'll go next weekend. And the next weekend it was bulldozed.
You never got it. You never got the full. No. Oh, so Sarin was... Back in the day, I get to say that now. Sarin was amazing. It was, just beach club, and it was incredible. It was really, really, really cool. And we were going to Catch, but we were taking a back road up and over the dirt hills. And I had my girlfriend Bonnie.
The dirt hills.
Just these hills here, just to cross over onto the beach road.
Yep.
And it was dark, and we had some drinks beforehand, as you do.
Yeah.
And again, with just those random things that happen in Thailand, someone had strung a hose across the path. The hose was black. It is nighttime. You can imagine we went over the hose and we went down, and you dust yourself off and everything's fine. We got into Catch, and the lights are on, and oh my goodness, we are covered in blood. So and Catch, it's a pretty high-so place. People like to dress to impress. We had to get out of there, needless to say. We were not fitting in with the crowd. It was not cool. We had, deep gashes all up our knees. So I still have a couple scars from that, but
that's your only horror story.
I had one recently last year, but I was really, really lucky. I hit oil, and then I somehow like hydroplaned over, and I got maybe a tiny scratch on my knee and one on my shoulder. I don't know how it happened. How I didn't get more injuries, but I was thankful. I was praising.
Yeah, it's did it just rain?
It was a little rainy, but it was just oil on the road, and it looks like water, right? So it happens.
And if you touch your brake, it's game.
Oh, you went out. But again, people just jumped up and helped me right away. People had like wet wipes and were cleaning me off and helping me fix my bike, and so I think everyone's due for a little road rash here if you're not careful.
A lot of people forget that, especially the Kamala Hill. When you leave Kamala to go to Patong, that hill's a bit sketchy going down.
It is.
Because and people, this information you should know. It's especially during the high season when it doesn't rain for who cares. It could be a month, 2 months, whatever. And then you get that first rain. All that oil that's settled comes up, and it turns to an ice rink. And even if you don't touch your brake and you're going down that hill because even if you're on like a 150cc scooter, you can just slide right out. So I tried after those first rains. I actually avoid driving for and staying away from the hills at least.
Yeah, that is wise. Especially if you're not experienced. No. There is a learning curve to becoming comfortable driving here on the scooter. But the nice thing is too, you can rent a car. There's lots of Grab taxis. There's a lot of transportation. We got a bus, right? We got the Phuket bus. Yeah. That was a long time coming. I know there was some issues with that, but that's a thing now.
Yeah, I had a buddy take it. It's pretty decent. It's not that, and apparently it's not that long. Like if you hop on it at Surin and you want to go to Nai Harn, it's still only going to take you an hour and a bit, almost equivalent to driving, because your motorbike, it doesn't stop that often. It just stops in every district quickly.
Yeah.
And I think that was more or less that was built for the tourists because they couldn't get around.
Yes, definitely. Phuket's not one of those places you can just walk to one area to another.
Yeah. I mean, anyone looking to, I never know which camera to look at. Anyway, anyone looking to like move to Phuket, they need to realize you need to ride a motorbike. If you can't ride a motorbike here, you're gonna be stuck in, walking distance of wherever you live.
Getting an international motorcycle license is also not a bad idea.
And you don't get to know the island at all,
No.
Because you need to drive around. If you really want to know the island, you need to drive around.
What's your favorite part of the island? Where do you like to go most often?
I live in Kamala. I work in Kamala, so I love Kamala. But if I'm going out, Nai Harn is beautiful.
Yeah.
Nai Harn Rawai area for food, for beaches, just for something a little different. It almost feels like we were saying this the other weekend. It feels like you're going to Koh Phangan. It's like a little day trip to Koh Phangan. Yeah. You get the yogi kind of cool cafe vibes, but it's 40 minutes away.
Yeah, it's a bit, and a lot of the ride's nice, but
the ride is nice, especially now with not so many cars on the road. You can really cruise, and the beach road, the coast road is incredible.
Especially today's raining. I mean, you wouldn't want to do it on a day like today, but on a clear sunny day, it's a great drive. Those are those moments where you're like, oh my gosh, I'm in Thailand. And you get those vistas, the sun setting over the ocean. You're just like, I want to bottle this. Yeah.
It's amazing.
That's for me. Like that's my biggest fear is going back, when I go back to Canada and then you wake up in the morning and you're kind of restricted to wherever you are in Canada because everything's so far away, unless you live downtown Toronto, which is maybe the most boring city in the world. But, you're stuck. Okay, I got to get in my car. I got to go find parking, pay $95, and then. But the freedom of the motorbike is like that's my favorite part of Southeast Asia. Especially like the ability to there's a dirt road. Let's go see what's down there.
Yes.
Okay, it's a pack of dogs. All right.
Yeah. Turn back.
Yeah.
No, it is freedom. You're right. You have a lot more freedom to just explore and to see and to get off the beaten path, as they say. When you have a scooter,
Oh, it's great. This is one thing because I had it in Taiwan for a full year, and Taiwan is the weather's not great. The winter can be cold, like not cold, but 5, maybe 10. But when you live on an ocean, 5 or 10 feels like -10. It's because it gets deep in your bone.
Yes.
And I'm
5-10, not cold. For me, it's the world ending, man.
Oh, Talise, you would not last.
Yeah,
you would last.
No less.
But Taiwan was the freedom as well. You can just rip around on the motorbike. It's more for mountains and like you see the natives there way up in the mountains and they're completely different than the locals down in the cities. But going to waterfalls and you go bouldering, you go through creeks and all that. And then I moved to China. And in China, in the cities, specifically for Shenzhen, they banned motorbikes. Actually, I was one of the last ones to have a motorbike there.
Wow, really?
So in Shenzhen, they didn't want any more motorbikes because people were going around and stealing purses. Right.
Oh,
so
okay.
I had an electric motorbike. I had a gas at one point, but then the police eventually chased me down and took that. You weren't even, there was a point, like after the second year I lived there, you couldn't go to the gas station. So I used to send my security guard to pick up gas to fill it up.
Wow.
And then eventually one day a police just pulled me over and took it.
That was that.
Yeah, that was that. And they were like, yeah, you're going to jail. And I spoke Chinese and it was just one guy. But the police in China, they're not big. They're quite small. So one guy won't take you out. So I hear him call for backup. And I just gave him my key and just walked. But and then you get on these electric bikes and then you're limited. You can't go far.
Yeah.
Also, you're in China. You're in a city. There's no mountain. There's nowhere to go.
Well, the air quality too. You're
it's
exposed to the elements. Right?
It's garbage. But then moving to Phuket, when you get back on that motorbike, like some days if you've had a long or hard day, I love to just do the loop from here all the way to Naithon, where you kind of rip through like the national park, past Banana Beach, come back around and I loop and I come back kind of through, there's a couple side roads that you'll come up almost by artisan. Like all the back roads.
Yes.
There's rubber plantation, there's buffalo out there, and like
amazing.
that is therapeutic to me.
Sure.
Because like you just get on your bike, you can put music on if you want. If not, you can just go with your thoughts and just, that's the day. And you could do that. It takes a good hour, and then you come back home and it's like, that's paradise.
There's also a lot of running trails here. So that's another thing I like to do here. There's so many good places to run. And same thing,
in Kamala, right?
Actually, in that area you were talking about, up by Project Artisan.
Okay.
Back in the old Tananda.
Really?
The whole Tananda area, Tepkasachi, I believe it's called. But and there isn't a lot of traffic. There's tree coverage. So even if you go a little bit later in the day, you're not in the heat of the sun.
Where do you go? Where do you enter? Where are these? I'm not familiar with those trails.
Where would you start? So where's Tananda? What is that area?
It's like, we'll call that.
That's Tepkasachi.
It's actually, the area is called Bangzhou.
Okay.
Bangzhou, because that's like, I used to live up there as well for about a year. But where do you access the trails?
I think you might access then on that road to the airport.
Yeah.
That
okay.
road through the rubber trees plantation. When you go into the airport, there is some trekking trails cutting there.
Okay. I didn't know that.
Before night on, I know about the one too. Like between Banana Beach and Night On, there is a trekking trail
I know
on the
this
right
one.
side.
Yeah, at the bottom, and then you go right.
And you go right.
Yeah,
that one.
Yeah, some of them are. I've been off. I don't want to say off-roading, kind of, but I was still on my motorbike, which I shouldn't have been. And then you can go right through the rubber plantations because they need to drive through there.
Yeah.
And then you get in the middle and they're looking at you like, what the hell are you doing here? But I mean, you can't do that when it's raining. There's no way.
No. But there's just so many little hidden gems around the island. And being on a scooter is definitely a highlight. Going for runs, going for little hikes around here. There is so much like dense jungle here too. The landscape of Phuket is also really varied. The east side of the island versus the west side, the north versus the south. Like
it's quite diverse. The island's big.
It is. And then you can jump on a boat and go to Pipi, you can go to Koh Lanta, you can go to, all of those other little islands in and around.
Yeah, Phuket's a good hub for jumping off Khao Lak or Khao Sok. Outside of Phuket, what would you recommend people would see first? Or let's rephrase that. Like, when you have friends visit you in Phuket, do you give them an itinerary of, hey, you got a week, this is what you should do?
Oh, it's so funny. When you've lived here a while, people will come out of the woodworks, especially people you haven't talked to since like high school.
Yeah, for sure.
My brother's cousin is coming.
Absolutely.
And I need to know how much money he needs to bring, and I need to know for 2 weeks what should he go see. And for the most part, you can give them the basic copy paste of what are the main sites, but it depends how in depth you want to go with it. But and also what they're interested in. People have different budgets, they have different interests, they have different things. You're not going to send your one friend who's really into like clubbing and partying. You're probably not going to go send them to the silent retreat up north there. So like you got to kind of gauge who your audience is, but definitely anything in the water. So if they're into diving or snorkeling, any of the little islands around here. Koh Lanta is one of my favorite islands. I love Koh Lanta. It's really cool. But yeah, it really depends who you're selling it to. But the food, there's like the top restaurants. I have like a list of restaurants around Phuket that I recommend.
Around Phuket.
Yes. The night markets. Markets are always an interesting, fun thing for people who've never been to Asia or been to Thailand. It's like,
and then for us, it's so
all
like,
of it.
It's we get so used to it.
We're so used to it, aren't we? But you get to see it through their eyes if you're doing it with them, and it's cool. It's the novelty kind of comes back, and you're like,
it's like you're on a vacation again as they join.
Totally through your eyes.
Did you find like the first couple years or maybe 4 or 5 years living here, you felt you became a tour guide for friends that were visiting?
Yes.
Would you did you, let's say, like, I'm sure everyone has the same story, but like those first 5 years when people came, did you give a lot of energy to people coming, and has that diminished over time?
Yes, for
I
sure.
think it's a weighted question.
Yeah. Any of my friends that are watching.
Right?
Yes, the first couple of times you have people out, you're the best host. You're going to take them to the best places, and even if you work the next day, you're going to go to above and beyond to make sure that they're having the most amazing, spectacular time. And you also take it really serious. Like you take it personal if they don't have a good time. Like say you take them to your favorite restaurant and it's closed. It's like, oh, you're personally gutted. Like, oh God, I wanted you to experience this so bad. Yeah. But over time you realize all of it's new to them. They're having an amazing time, whether they're just sat at the beach. You don't have to entertain. So yeah, the level of, not the level of care, I guess that's not right to say, but the level of attention has kind of, it becomes more relaxed, and you do this. You decide.
And if I see you,
yeah, if
I'll
I
see you.
I see you. And you become less of the tour guide and more of just you're giving suggestions.
Yeah, because it can be quite draining, especially like because when they show up, I compare Phuket to Vegas. It's very transient, let's say. So like when people come, it's like, they're just in transition. They're coming through. They're going. A lot of the times they're going to PP. They're going to Koh Lanta. Yeah. It's like Phuket sometimes can be a transit place. I would say for most people that come here.
I agree. For sure.
They're usually doing, let's say, the route. Okay, we land in Phuket. We do a couple nights in Patong, but our goal is we're going to PP. From PP, we go to Krabi and maybe Lanta, and then from there we go to Koh Phangan, Koh Samui. That's usually the trail.
Yeah.
But most people that come to Phuket, in my experience, and people coming to visit, they're not actually coming to Phuket, unless maybe they're a family and they're coming to a resort. But let's say the backpacker, the friend traveling through Southeast Asia.
The main travelers that I met here, and because I got in contact with some people from agencies in Brazil, they don't put Phuket in their itinerary at all. It's just a hub. Yeah, people don't come to explore Phuket unless they're doing their own itinerary. But the agencies...
Keep pumping that agency.
Yeah. So they use Phuket just as a hub. Brazilians, they usually go straight to PP or Ao Nang and Rayleigh.
Yeah.
They use Phuket as a hub because of the airport. They can get some good deals, but they stay here 1-2 nights and that's it.
And usually in Patong.
Usually in Patong.
Usually on Bangla.
And Bangla
right?
Road.
See,
yeah.
Very specific.
I think the reason they do that is because they know in Phuket you can't see it without a motorbike. And you don't want these people on tour to be ripping around, injuring themselves second day on their 10-day adventure. Because all these places, let's say PP, Bangla Road, don't need a motorbike. PP, don't need a motorbike. And then Raleigh Beach, you don't need. So you're putting in these places where they can be completely safe.
Safe and walking around.
Yeah.
And, because here it's a hard island to go around. It's big island. It's bigger than Singapore, this island.
Yeah, it's especially, and again, you cannot see this island without a motorbike. It's impossible.
Yeah.
And that's the problem. You get a lot of people like, if you come to stay at Surin Beach and you can't ride a motorbike, you're not going to see Phuket at all. It's just no way. And then you might get a bit bored because walking distance to everything without one is quite far. You're walking 10 minutes from your hotel to the beach to the restaurant, and that can be a bit, it's not as user friendly, let's say.
For sure.
Yes.
The other thing I noticed too, I don't know if you guys have experienced this during your travels, but when you tell people you live in Phuket, do you get some of the why? It's almost like people equate Phuket to Bangla Road. Yes.
But I love that. Yes, but don't come to Phuket. Bangla Road. Yeah. Keep that stereotype up.
They only know Patong. That's Phuket stereotype. Patong and Russians.
I find that's a good thing. You want to limit the tourists.
Sure.
Right? Like in that sense, like, okay, go to PP. If the more people that find, then how are we going to catch the waves at Surin?
But they're going to find now, Brendan. Look at us promoting the island.
we have all eight viewers. Yeah, no, I think that stereotype, it's good. Keep it up. Outside of where else have you traveled in Thailand, or where would you what haven't you seen in Thailand maybe?
I would like to go. I've been to Chiang Mai, but I would like to go north, like Chiang Rai, that sort of.
You haven't been up there.
I haven't.
Pai?
No, that's another one I've been told. See,
it's
that's
amazing. You need to go to Pai.
You need to go to Pai.
When you have a reaction like that, everyone always has that same reaction about Pai.
Yeah, Pai is amazing.
Oh, yeah.
But it's I don't think you could go now without the tourists because I think everything would just be closed. Like there's and you're vegetarian, vegan, whatever that is. Well, we won't go down that road. But the vegan food, vegetarian food, there is. I'm not, but I don't mind it if it's good. It is ridiculous there because it's all grown. Now everything's natural. You go to the vegan restaurant and the garden's in the backyard.
Ugh.
So
that sounds amazing.
It's really good. The food's amazing.
It's
there.
amazing. I went there for 3 nights and I stayed 12 days. I booked 2 nights, stayed there. No, let's stay long in this place. There is something here.
And it's up in the hills, right? It's quite high.
It's in a valley. So like you cross. It's not Thailand. I don't know how to explain it. Like you start at Chiang Mai and you ride the motorbike. That's the best way to do it if you're comfortable now, because most people will take the minibus, but the minibus is like this and they drive like lunatics. So, and it takes about 4 or 5 hours. So by the time you get there, I didn't do it, but everyone I talked to said you feel a bit sick. But on the motorbike, 4 hours, nice drive. It's gorgeous. And you go over the highest point in all of Thailand, Dong Intan or something like this. Doi Intang.
Yes, but Doi Intan, it's in another direction.
It's nearby. It's nearby. Like right there.
Yes, right.
So you go over this hill, this mountain, I guess, and then you come into Pai. And as you enter it, you're entering a valley. And like as you enter, it's like, I don't know, something, vibrations hit you.
Yeah.
No, it's really
like
it feels it's different. I can't explain it. And the waterfalls are gorgeous. The food's amazing. It's really small. It's quite quaint. There's a couple places if you want to go have drinks at night that you can have
live
fun.
Music. They have really nice live music, like locals that plays really good. They usually stay in the area. Like
the hostels are cool. I usually don't stay at hostels because I'm a princess. But I need my bed and I need my bathroom.
I'm with you on that.
So, but actually, what's cool there, the hostels you can go visit for the day, and they're all outdoors and open. So they got fires. It's more of a community there.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of them, and it's amazing. You can eat a bunch of mushrooms and have a great time. But
well, it's on the list for sure.
Yeah, it's a really really cool place. Similar to Copenhagen, but without the snake oil salesman.
The snake oil salesman.
Yeah.
It's the vibe there is something out of this world. You get there, you feel it.
Yeah,
like you
really
said,
cool.
It's really good.
It's really cool. Are there places in Thailand that you find yourself frequently going back to?
Yeah, we've gone a couple times to Copenhagen, and it's one of those places where it's amazing to travel to. It's amazing to visit, but you come back to Phuket and you're like, oh yeah, okay, I like to live in Phuket. I like to work and play in Copenhagen, but work and live in Phuket. But I mean, travel has been difficult this last little bit, but I want to go everywhere. That's a difficult thing. I just need the time.
Meaning outside of Thailand or?
Inside of Thailand. I've traveled a couple of places in Asia as well. Like Bali is obviously
where did you go in Bali?
All around. Like I went to the southern peninsula. I went up to Ubud, and then what's the one? Ahmed up in the north, and then over to Gili Islands. And I was there for a month by myself, so I was just bouncing around. So that I think Bali for me was the most similar that I've been to outside of Phuket.
Yeah.
Similar, not the same, but there's nuances that are.
Well, the problem there is the traffic. It's not enjoyable to drive a motorbike. You're bumper to bumper everywhere, and you can just smell the gas.
That was same with Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka was beautiful, but oh man, if you think Thai drivers are reckless, don't go to Sri Lanka. They will overtake on a.
Were you driving on the motorbike there?
There was one beach. I think it was like Hikkaduwa.
Yes.
And we did a very small little motorcycle ride, and it was just to like a turtle sanctuary and back. But oh gosh, even the taxis, you're white knuckling the back. We paid extra for them to slow down. We paid extra for them to go a little bit slower
because there are no side roads. Everything's a main road.
Oh,
Yeah, I've
gosh.
been there. It's crazy.
Yeah. But also really beautiful. It was
Oh,
just,
it's
again,
amazing.
couldn't live there because the roads,
No.
the traffic.
Yeah, even places like Hikadua, it's still a little bit underdeveloped, but like places like Hikadua, it's you have a main road and then you kind of just turn off it. But I mean, it's essentially their highway.
Yes.
So when you go out to walk to other areas, it's dangerous. There's trucks flying by at 100 kilometers an hour.
And your hotel will be right
Yeah.
on that
Yeah,
road.
yeah, yeah.
Like it's just
sketchy.
right there. So yeah, it was, I want to travel around Asia again once.
Where else? What's on the list? If quarantine and countries open up, what's your first go to in Southeast Asia or Asia?
Oh man, that is so hard to say. I'd really like to go to Japan. I'd like to go there. I know that's on the list. I would like to. There was a point in where is the? Oh my
Probably Mike has to.
Oh,
Yeah, it's starting to slide away. There you go.
Borneo.
Borneo, yeah.
Borneo would be
Yeah.
cool.
For the hiking.
For the hiking.
There's a famous hike to the top of a volcano or a mountain.
Volcano, yeah.
Going back to Bali would be cool. I'd like to go on the northeast side. I didn't touch any of that, but I would like to go to the volcanoes. There's hot springs. It's like you're on Mars. It was really bizarre driving through there. It was like, what?
It's a
is
huge
this?
island.
It's massive.
But
It's
there's
massive.
nothing much like once you kind of leave the Canggu, Kuta, Uluwatu, there's nothing really like it's not under. You have Ubud, but like all these other areas, like way up in the north of Bali, like I can't imagine there's much tourism up there.
There isn't much tourism, but there is amazing snorkeling. The beaches have that black sand. Like you feel like you're out of this world. You're not in the Kuta, Seminyak, standard Bali.
Yeah. That's like comparable to Bangla. Seminyak, Kuta is like our Bangla.
That's so funny. We were just talking about, Kuta would be like
Kuta's the Bangla. Seminyak would, I guess, maybe more like Surin?
Yes.
Or I guess how Surin was.
How Surin was back.
Kind of Chantilly. Yeah. Including Surin.
Seminyak?
Seminyak.
Seminyak, it's more high standard. It's like all the beach clubs, like
Maybe
Madonna.
Laguna.
You'll see like footballers there. And,
And
yeah,
I
it's
think
more
Ubud
Laguna.
would be Naiharn.
Naiharn,
Rawai
Rawai.
area, yes.
Even like
Canggu would be
Koh
Naiharn,
Phangan.
no?
Canggu?
A little
Maybe.
mix of, it's a blend. It's hard to say.
Yeah, Canggu is cool. It's my only problem with Bali was the traffic. Like I've been there 4 times, and every time I go there, I go, "Why am I here?" And it's not that; it's because I'm in Phuket already, which is like a holiday, and then I go there, and it's like, it's not like if you're trying to connect from Seminyak to Canggu, it's like, especially at times of the day, it's these strange little paths, and it's bumper to bumper.
Yeah.
And then it's funny when you come back to Phuket and then you get on your motorbike leaving the airport, you're like, oh, wait a minute.
I have freedom. I can drive.
Yeah, that was my only qualm with Bali was just like getting between places was you're always in traffic. Even like when you're going to the nice waterfalls, like it's never just smooth sailing.
No.
That was my only issue. But apparently what I didn't realize, the island has 4 million people.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's like a city on an island. Which is it's gorgeous. It's just that was the only issue I had with it getting around. But I'm whatever.
Yeah,
being a princess.
Well, I'm sure it'll be different now. That's the other thing I'm really curious about. What's going to happen once the restrictions start lifting? Once travel, starts happening again. What is it going to be like? Are the tourists going to come back right away? I think it's going to be quite nice in the beginning. There isn't going to be so many people, so you got those.
I think you're going to see a lot of better visa options open.
I hope so.
I think so. Like these digital nomad visas. I think this is starting in Phuket now.
Yeah.
Digital nomad visas, just so it will be easier for people to come stay longer and making that process easier.
I hope so. It's a pain in the butt before to get here and to stay. The whole process is just jump through the hoops.
So you want to go to Japan? Anywhere in particular?
No, I would like to go skiing.
Skiing in Japan.
Yeah, that would be cool. That would be pretty awesome. I'll go anywhere at this point. Yeah. After not being able to travel, you're just like, oh my gosh, give me anything, give me whatever. I'll go to China. Like, you know what I mean? Like the most like boring humdrum place. I'll be like, yes, like send me there. I just need something different. And then come back to Phuket, of course.
Maybe just find yourself playing around on what is it, the Sky Scanner. That might, might make you feel better. Just look at tickets for an hour.
It's like window shopping. Oh gosh.
You don't have to buy, just play around on the website of it. What time? Okay, I'm getting hungry now.
Yeah,
that's what happened. That's why I said when you do the podcast this late, I get too hungry. I don't last longer. Okay, we'll close out now. I never know which. I'm looking at this camera. Awesome. Okay, so we'll just end this with what we're about and who we are. We explained this at the start of the show. We are Fruiting Body Mushrooms, but again, we're not just a medicinal mushroom company. We're here to connect people of Phuket and tell their stories, but we'll also dig a little bit deeper outside of that as well. We'll be doing sometimes we will do remote let's say podcasts, but that's when we can get more people that are not able to come to the country and maybe scientists involved in the medicinal mushroom stuff. We haven't really talked too much about the mushroom aspect of on the podcast too much yet, but that's not really our intention. Our intention is to bring people living on the island and to allow people outside of the island, wherever you are, to connect with them, hear their stories, and see, as Kyle said, seeing through the lens of Phuket. Which Kyle is, he's in the background, you can't see him, but he's our copywriter. So we are selling medicinal mushrooms. We're Fruiting Body. You can find us on Instagram at Fruiting Body Mushrooms. We have our YouTube channels for Fruiting Body Podcast. We also have a YouTube channel, Fruiting Body as well. The Fruiting Body brand, it's touching upon an array of concepts. We're doing podcasts, Muay Thai events, charity events, beach cleans, getting involved in orphanages on the island of Phuket. We'll be getting involved in Soy Dog and other things like this. We'll also be diving into the people of Phuket, connecting people's stories on the lifestyle more visually so you can expand outside of the podcast. And we hope with Cara, we can plan to do that in the future. Now I'm looking here. Oh, my God. Okay. So, again, find us at Fruiting Body Mushrooms. We can plug Cara Bishop's company. I couldn't get it. Shining Star. So we'll put some information of that in the description, I think, as well. Is there anything else, Cara, you wanted to share with us? Maybe you can plug some stuff, some art, some whatever you're looking to do.
No, thanks for having me. I'm just happy to be here.
Awesome. Okay, thanks a lot, Cara. Again, it's a Saturday, so it was really nice of her to come in. It's raining, and actually it looks like the sun's coming out. It might just be the light I'm staring into. I'm not sure. But that wraps it up. Thanks a lot, guys. That was a bit of an outro, so hope you enjoyed, and peace out.
Thank you so much, guys.